Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night without knowing why? Not because of noise, not because of a nightmare, just because your body no longer wants to sleep. And the next morning feels like a long, heavy day, with tired eyes, a foggy mind, and the sense that you never truly rested. Sleep after 65 isn't as easy as it once was, but that doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. Science has revealed many small habits that can make a big difference, helping you sleep more deeply, wake more gently, and live each day with greater vitality. The secret to good sleep after 65 doesn't lie in medication, but in understanding. Let's begin the journey to better sleep right now. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to click subscribe and like to support the author and share these valuable lessons with others. Now, let's get started. Chapter 1. The Third Sleepless Night. 3:12 a.m. Walter opened his eyes wide as if someone had just called his name in a dream. But there was no one. The room was shrouded in darkness, broken only by the ticking of the wall clock, each tick seeming to mock him second by second. He lay still. No traffic, no birds, not even Eleanor, his wife, stirred her breath soft and steady beside him. And yet, he was awake, wide awake, as if he'd just downed 3 cups of strong coffee. Again, he muttered, turning to look at the clock. 3:12 a.m., the third time this week. No nightmare, no headache. Just awake, clear, alert. He quietly got out of bed, slid his feet into his slippers, and made his way to the kitchen, careful not to wake Eleanor. But before long he heard the faint rustle of blankets and a familiar voice from the hallway. Walter. Can't sleep again. Eleanor appeared hair-tousled, wrapped in a blanket. In the dim kitchen light she looked small and a little worried. Go back to sleep, love. I'm just getting a drink of water. Walter. She sat beside him, still bleary-eyed. How many times now? Do you know how tired you look? He sighed and set his glass down on the table. 3rd. No, 4th, actually. No reason at all. I just wake up. Like someone's set an alarm clock in my brain. Are you worried about something? Your health, money, the kids, no Eleanor? Nothing like that. My mind's blank. I go to bed on time. I eat well, no stress. But sleep, it just slips away in pieces. Eleanor looked at her husband, the man who once felt like a mountain to her, now sitting there like a sail without wind in the middle of a quiet night sea. I did some reading. The other day I came across a medical journal article about this. Walter raised an eyebrow. About why older people, like us, don't sleep as deeply as before. It's not stress and not necessarily illness either. It's natural. Natural? What do you mean? Eleanor turned and reached for her phone on the kitchen counter. She opened a saved article, scrolled down, and read softly. After the age of 60, melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, decreases significantly. This is one of the reasons older adults struggle to stay in deep sleep and tend to wake up during the night. Walter blinked. The word melatonin sounded familiar, but he'd never thought it had anything to do with him. There's more. Eleanor continued reading on. Older adults also experience a decline in the activity of the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, which is the brain's body clock control center. This causes them to feel sleepy earlier in the evening and wake up earlier in the morning, even if they haven't had enough sleep. Walter exhaled deeply, as if something heavy had just been lifted from his chest. So, it's not my fault. It's not because I had dinner too early or stayed up watching the telly. No, my love, it's because our bodies are aging. But now that we understand it, we can do something about it. We don't have to just accept it. Walter looked at his wife, his gaze softening. He had always known Eleanor was calm and thoughtful, but the way she tackled things never ceased to surprise him. "Is there anything that helps? I don't want to keep waking up at 3 a.m. It's like being trapped in a rhythm that doesn't belong to me." "Yes, there is. Tomorrow we can try a few small changes. A little morning light, the right foods, keeping the room at a steady temperature. And there are natural ways to help the body produce melatonin again." Walter gave a gentle nod as if, for the first time in many months, this felt within reach. He stood up and poured some hot water into his cup. The steam rose, warm and comforting. "I didn't expect getting older to feel this tiring, but you're not alone. I feel it too, and I'm right here. We'll get through it together." Outside, the sky was still dark, but no longer felt as cold. Eleanor leaned on her husband's shoulder. She smiled. "We'll start tomorrow at breakfast. I read about some foods that help with sleep. And don't forget early morning sunlight. It helps reset the body clock." Walter chuckled softly. "The way you say it, it's like I'm a clock that needs winding up." "That's right. But it's not the battery, love. It's the heart, the rhythm. Life may slow down, but we can still guide it." The next morning, Eleanor opened the fridge and took out a tray of almonds, kiwi fruit, and some oats. Walter frowned. "No fried eggs today. Today, we're feeding your brain to sleep, not just your belly." Eleanor laughed. And just like that, their journey back to restful sleep had begun. Chapter 2. A Breakfast for Sleep, and a Small Misunderstanding. 4:45 a.m. Sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, casting a golden glow across the table where Eleanor was arranging breakfast. No fried eggs, no peanut butter on toast, just a bowl of lukewarm oats, a few slices of bright green kiwi, and a small handful of crisp almonds. Walter walked in still in his checkered pajamas and worn-out slippers. He stared at the table for a moment, then frowned slightly. "No, coffee." Eleanor looked up, beaming. "Let's try going without it. Today, shall we? It might be making your sleep worse at night. We'll have chamomile tea instead, gentle and calming." Walter sat down clearly, unconvinced. "So no eggs, no coffee. Just kiwi oats and a few nuts. Are you trying to feed me like a bird?" Eleanor burst out laughing. "Don't underestimate these little things. Kiwi contains serotonin, which helps your body produce melatonin, the sleep hormone. Oats are rich in vitamin B6, and almonds have magnesium. All three can help you relax and sleep more deeply." Walter looked at the plate, then at his wife, then back at the plate. Sounds more like something an Indian yoga teacher would eat, not a retired Marine. Eleanor shrugged. "Well, now you're retired. No more battles to fight, just peaceful sleep to win. Let's try it for a week. If it doesn't help, I promise I'll fry your eggs every morning again." Walter reluctantly scooped a spoonful of oats. The texture was soft, slightly sweet, but lacked the saltiness he usually liked. He didn't say a word, just chewed slowly. Inwardly, he thought sleep's already hard enough. Now the food's strange too. Maybe the sleep will be strange in a good way. After breakfast, we'll go for a little walk. Morning sunlight helps reset our body clock, Eleanor added. Walter nodded, though he wasn't quite sold on the idea. Around 10:15 a.m., the elderly couple walked hand in hand around the neighborhood. The sun was soft, not harsh. Trees cast gentle shade across the pavement. Eleanor spoke more than usual about signing up for an evening mindfulness class, about an article that said 30 minutes of morning light could deepen sleep. Walter remained quiet, listening, until they stopped outside Mrs. Rose's house, the widow who lived a few doors down. Rose was out watering her flowers and smiled when she saw them. "Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. Wells. You two look so happy today." Eleanor replied cheerfully, "Morning, Rose. We're trying a new routine for better sleep. Morning walks healthier meals." Rose squinted, turning to Walter. "Not sleeping well, eh? Careful now. Walter, they say poor sleep messes with your memory, you know." Walter gave a sheepish smile, about to respond, when Rose glanced at Eleanor and lowered her voice. "Well, I must say, Eleanor seems to keep a pretty tight grip on things. No eggs, no coffee. And the other day, I even saw her buying a bottle of herbal sleeping pills. Is it really all for health, or is there more to it?" She hadn't finished her sentence when Eleanor stiffened. Walter frowned. "What bottle?" he asked. "Oh, I was at the local supermarket 2 days ago and saw Eleanor pick up a bottle of natural melatonin sleep." She tucked it into her handbag rather quickly. "I thought she meant it for you." "No," Eleanor said sharply, her voice suddenly firmer. "It was for me. I've had a few sleepless nights myself." Rose raised an eyebrow as if about to say something more, but Eleanor gently took her husband's hand. "Let's keep walking, dear." On the way home. The mood had shifted. Heavier now, Walter said nothing. Eleanor didn't speak either. Not until they reached their front door did he finally say, "You bought sleeping pills for me, and didn't tell me." Eleanor paused before entering the kitchen. "No, it's not like that. I really did buy them for myself. But I know you worry, so I didn't mention it. I just wanted to help you sleep naturally." Walter looked at his wife. There was no anger in his eyes, only confusion, and a tinge of hurt at the misunderstanding. "So it's not that you think I'm old and losing my mind and in need of pills. No, darling. I was just concerned. When I saw you waking up at 3 a.m., so often I worried it might be your heart or your brain sending odd signals. But now, I understand it's mostly hormones and the body clock shifting. Nothing frightening at all." Walter let out a soft breath. A weight seemed to lift off his shoulders. He stepped closer and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Sorry I doubted you, and thank you for caring, even if the oats this morning were pretty dreadful." Eleanor laughed, eyes brimming with tears. "I'll add cinnamon and honey tomorrow. A little sweeter, but much tastier. All right. But the coffee, chamomile tea, love, just for 1 week." That night, Walter lay in bed and for the first time in weeks felt his eyelids grow heavy before 11 p.m. He didn't know if it was the morning walk the kiwi or simply the honest talk with Eleanor. But this time he didn't wake at 3 a.m. Eleanor turned towards him in the gentle dark and whispered, "Walter, thank you for trusting me. And if it doesn't work this week, I'll bring your coffee back. Just in the mornings, though." Walter murmured, eyes already closed. "I'm asleep already. Don't tempt me with coffee." The next morning, Walter sat at the breakfast table with kiwi and oats, this time topped with cinnamon. He nodded appreciatively. "Not bad, but are we having beef stew for lunch?" Eleanor grinned brightly. Neither of them knew that another neighbor would soon step into their lives, bringing with them a new challenge to their sleep, and a truth buried for over 30 years. Eleanor turned to her husband. In the gentle darkness, she whispered, "Walter, thank you for trusting me. And if this week doesn't work, I'll let you have your coffee again. But only in the morning, all right." Walter mumbled, eyes half closed. "I'm already asleep. Don't tempt me with coffee." The next morning, Walter sat eating his breakfast of kiwi and porridge, this time with a sprinkle of cinnamon. He nodded thoughtfully. "Not bad. But will there be beef stew for lunch?" Eleanor beamed. Chapter 3. Light and Air. Sleep is more than just a bed, late afternoon. The ceiling fan hummed gently above the living room. Eleanor was reading when Walter came in from outside holding 2 tri-folded papers in his hand. His expression was a mix of curiosity and mild confusion. "You even signed us up for a sleep consultation." Eleanor looked up from the sleep revolution and folded the book shut. "Yes, through the local senior center. It's free. I thought you might come with me. They'll talk about lighting temperature and bedtime habits. Maybe we're missing something." Walter sat on the sofa, stretched his legs out and grimaced. "I don't buy all that blue light, warm light stuff or switch off your phone before bed. If you're tired, you sleep." Eleanor tilted her head at him. "But we're not 40 anymore. If small changes help without needing pills, why not try?" Walter sighed. "You win. But if the expert tells us to sleep in cold water tanks or hang upside down from the ceiling, I'm walking out." They both chuckled. Even without saying it aloud, Eleanor could feel Walter was starting to open up, to change. The next morning, community center. A simple room, about 10 elderly couples seated. At the front stood a woman in a brown cardigan, thin-framed glasses, and a soft voice. "I'm Dr. Laura Price, a sleep and behavioral specialist for older adults. Today, we're not talking about medication, but the little things in your bedroom that can have a big effect on your brain." Walter whispered to Eleanor. "Little things like your squishy pillow, perhaps?" Eleanor nudged him gently. "First, light. As we age, our eyes struggle to absorb natural blue light during the day. This delays our internal clock. The result, we get sleepy early but wake up in the middle of the night." An elderly man at the front raised his hand. "So, how do we reset that clock?" "Very simply." Dr. Laura smiled. "Get outside for a 20 to 30-minute walk in the morning. Open the curtains and let the sunshine in. Don't live under artificial light all day. And at night, cut out blue light from TVs and phones at least an hour before bed." Walter turned to Eleanor. "You're banning my cowboy films at night, aren't you?" Eleanor chuckled and shook her head. "Switch to cowboy novels instead." Next, Dr. Laura spoke about temperature. Our body's internal thermostat weakens with age. To fall asleep, body temperature needs to drop slightly. If the room is too warm, above 20 Celsius, you're more likely to wake during the night. The ideal sleeping temperature is between 18 to 20 degrees. Walter muttered. "So, now we're sleeping in an icebox." Not quite, Dr. Laura heard and replied. "Just cool the room by a couple of degrees, use lightweight cotton sheets, open a window, or use a fan. Don't wrap yourself like a mummy. Your body needs to stay cool for the brain to release melatonin." Eleanor gave Walter a sea look. He pulled a mock frown. "You win again." The final part of the session was about bedtime routines. Many people think they don't have a routine, but in truth, the way you prepare for bed is a ritual. If every night you take a warm shower, read, and listen to soft music, your brain will begin to recognize these as signals to relax. An older woman raised her hand. "I often nod off watching the news, then wake up at 1 a.m. and can't get back to sleep. How do I stop that? Only go to bed when you're truly sleepy. And if you wake in the middle of the night, don't turn on the TV or check the clock. Get out of bed, read a few pages under a warm, dim light, and return only when you feel drowsy again. Most importantly, don't force yourself to sleep. The brain will resist." For the first time, Walter nodded in agreement. He whispered, "Forcing sleep never works. The more you try, the more awake you feel." Eleanor gently squeezed his hand under the table. That evening, their small bedroom looked a little different. The ceiling light had been replaced by a soft amber bedside lamp, and the window was cracked open to let the night breeze in. Walter's phone had been borrowed by Eleanor and left out in the living room. Walter sat at the edge of the bed, leafing through the worn pages of 20 Years on the Western Side of the Mississippi. Eleanor lay beside him, gently smoothing out the thin blanket. I think tonight might be our first full 7 hours of sleep. Walter looked at her, and no pills, no being force-fed oats, no being overly managed. Eleanor smiled softly. I'm not managing. I'm caring. A little later, the lamp clicked off. The breeze rustled through the curtains, soft as a breath. Walter murmured just before drifting off, You know, ever since you let me sleep next to the window, I felt more at peace. A week passed. Eleanor kept track of their sleep quality, and slowly began to see how these little habits were helping them rest deeper. But then one morning, Walter didn't get out of bed on time. Not because he'd slept too well, but because something had quietly begun inside his body, and Eleanor had no idea it was coming. Chapter 4. The clock within 6 to 10 a.m. Soft morning light filtered through the bedroom window, landing gently on Eleanor's thin arm. She opened her eyes and turned over. The pillow beside her still held its shape, slightly sunken, but was empty. Walter. She sat up, heart skipping slightly. No sound of running water from the bathroom. No rustling of newspaper from the living room. No scent of coffee. Just silence. Walter, where are you? She stepped out of the bedroom, bare feet touching the cool wooden floor. Then she saw him, sitting alone on the porch, wrapped in a light coat, staring blankly at the trees. You scared me. It's only just past 6. Why are you out here? Walter didn't turn around. His voice was raspy. I woke up at 4:30. Tried to doze off again, but my mind kept spinning. So I figured I'd come out here and wait for the sun to rise. I didn't want to wake you. Eleanor sat beside him silently. Is something wrong? Walter closed his eyes, took a breath. No. I just feel like I've slipped back into the old rhythm, waking up too early again. Then I'm tired all day. I thought I'd fixed it. But now, it feels like I haven't. Eleanor held his hand warm and steady. Maybe we just need to go a little further, help reset that inner body clock. 1 week later, the community sleep clinic. They returned to see Dr. Laura, the expert with the calm voice and deeply understanding eyes. Waking up unusually early may suggest that Mr. Walter's internal body clock is still a bit off, but the good news is it can absolutely be adjusted, if we treat it right. That means using light meal timing and movement wisely. Walter nodded, jotting down notes. So, what exactly should we do? Eleanor asked. Dr. Laura smiled. Let's start with the light. It is the strongest needle of the body's biological clock. Every morning, go outside for 30 minutes after waking, no sunglasses, no windows in the way. Just natural light. Walter chuckled softly. You mean light wakes up the brain? Exactly. When light hits the retina, the brain receives the signal that it's time to start the day, and automatically adjusts the timing of melatonin release at night. Eleanor added, So, what if he wakes at 4:30, but the sun hasn't risen yet? Good question. Dr. Laura nodded. In that case, it's recommended to use a light therapy box, a device that emits gentle white light at 10,000 lux. Use it early in the morning for 20 to 30 minutes while reading the paper or having breakfast. That evening, Walter sat under the porch with the light box placed in front of him. Eleanor brewed some chamomile tea and gently set the cup on the table. I think you trying this box is progress already. I don't want to go back to sleeping 3 hours and waking like an owl. He paused briefly, then added quietly, "You know, some mornings I wake up and reach over but don't feel you there. It scares me. I'm scared that one day I'll be lying there all alone forever." Eleanor faltered for a moment. She placed her hand on his shoulder gently. "Sleep, like life, needs us to be together. I'm here, Walter. I'm always here." 3 days later, the next challenge: adjusting meals. Eleanor read from a small notebook Dr. Laura had given her. Don't eat after 7 p.m. Avoid heavy or late dinners. She looked at him. No more cowboy films. And now you've got to give up your late-night barbecue, too. Walter laughed heartily. "Unless you allow me to have barbecue at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Early to eat, early to sleep, and you'll stay young." Eleanor winked. That evening, they had dinner under warm, yellow lighting, listening to soft music instead of watching TV. Eleanor folded the napkin and said, "For the first time in years, I feel like dinner is a ritual to prepare for sleep, not just eat till full, then lie down." Walter nodded. "Everything slows down. It feels easier to breathe." A week later, noting the changes, Eleanor wrote in the sleep diary. Day 7. Walter woke at 5:55. No waking during the night. No daytime sleepiness. Regular 30-minute morning walks. Day 10. He falls asleep listening to gentle music. No more tossing and turning. No complaints about fragile sleep. Walter read it back, squinting. "You're keeping notes like a doctor." Eleanor smiled, "Because I love your sleep more than my own." Scientific explanation woven in. Early morning natural light helps the biological clock circadian rhythm know exactly when day and night are, thus adjusting melatonin secretion on time. 2. A light therapy box is used for elderly people or those living in places lacking sunlight. It mimics natural light to improve insomnia, seasonal depression, and sleep disorders. 3. Avoiding late dinners helps the body not to confuse day and night and reduces the risk of metabolic and sleep disorders. Just when it seemed Walter's sleep had returned to normal one evening, he tossed and turned, unable to sleep, heart racing and anxiety creeping back. Eleanor discovered a small mistake they had been repeating for weeks, a habit that seemed harmless but quietly disrupted his sleep. Chapter 5. Small Habits, Big Impact. Late at night kitchen, 10:45 p.m. A dim light seeped through the crack of the door. Eleanor stepped out of the bedroom, slipped on her soft woolen slippers, and quietly made her way downstairs. On the kitchen table, Walter was fiddling with a plate of cheese and savory crackers, accompanied by a half-empty glass of red wine. Still not asleep? Eleanor asked softly, pulling out a chair beside him. Walter hastily hid the plate of cheese like a child caught in the act. "I just felt a bit peckish. Didn't think a little snack would make much difference." Eleanor looked at him, his eyes slightly swollen, tired, and his expression uneasy. "This is the third night you've been up nearly till midnight. You're sluggish and worn out during the day. What's going on?" Walter lowered his head. I'm not really hungry. It's just feeling sad, empty. When I switch off the light and lie down, my mind starts racing illness, the future, the children, and then I get anxious, restless." Eleanor gently took his hand. "Why don't you say anything, bottling it up, then drinking and snacking late? Only makes it worse." Walter sighed. "I know. But some habits are so ingrained it's hard to give them up, love." The next morning, at the sleep clinic, they returned to see Dr. Laura, patient and sincere as always. Walter's sleep is not just a reflex. It's a whole process, nurtured by what we do during the day, and especially before bedtime. There are some habits that seem harmless, but are silent saboteurs of sleep. She pointed to a chart. 5 common habits to avoid before bedtime. 1. Late-night eating food stimulates digestion, raises body temperature, causing the body to think it's still awake. Thus, melatonin isn't released at the right time. 2. Drinking alcohol thought to help sleep, but actually fragments it, reduces deep sleep, and causes nighttime awakenings. 3. Using electronic devices, blue light from phones and TVs, suppresses the brain's sleep hormones. 4. Lying awake with racing thoughts activates the sympathetic nervous system, keeping the brain alert even after the lights are off. 5. Lack of a relaxation ritual. Before sleep, without a transition, the body doesn't receive the signal to slow down its biological rhythms. Walter nodded, seeming to realize. So that means we need to prepare for sleep well in advance, not just jump into bed. Exactly. Dr. Laura smiled. That evening, the little house a new ritual, Eleanor placed her phone into a wooden box labeled screen-free after 9 p.m. The room was left bathed in gentle yellow light and the sound of piano music. Walter tidied away the wine glass, opened the tea drawer, and poured 2 cups of chamomile. I think every evening we could play a light game of chess or read a book rather than watch TV right up to bedtime. You're doing so well, I'm afraid I'm the one holding things back. Eleanor took his hand tenderly. Sleep is a lot like marriage. No one is perfect, but when 2 people make an effort together, there will be results. 2 weeks later, encouraging progress, Walter wrote in his journal, Day 14th, no waking during the night, no need for sleep aids, woke at 6:10 feeling refreshed. Day 15, no late-night snacks, no alcohol, no more restless dreams. Day 16, Eleanor slept soundly through the night for the first time in years without waking to check on herself. Walter watched Eleanor tending the plants in the morning sunshine. He approached and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. What do you think about inviting the grandchildren over? Next week, I'd like to cook breakfast with them, like we used to. Eleanor smiled brightly. The children will be thrilled. And I'm sure they'll be surprised to see their granddad up early, energetic, and unusually cheerful. Final thoughts. Through the journey of the elderly couple, Walter and Eleanor, we learn. Chapter 1. Why sleep becomes fragile after age. 65. As we age, melatonin levels drop, circadian rhythms shift, and the brain becomes more sensitive to noise and light. This causes sleep to be more fragmented, lighter, and less restorative. Chapter 2. Foods that promote better sleep. Walnuts, almonds, kiwi, warm milk, and herbal teas help the body naturally produce serotonin and melatonin. Avoid caffeine, sugar, and fatty foods close to bedtime. Chapter 3. Expert advice on light temperature and sleep habits. Early morning light and a cool temperature around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius promote deeper sleep. Maintain consistent sleep and wake times and avoid screens for an hour before bed. Chapter 4. Naturally adjusting the body clock. Use light at appropriate times, eat meals on schedule, and maintain regular physical activity. Limit naps that are too long or too late in the day. Chapter 5. Habits to avoid before bedtime. Late-night eating, alcohol, electronic devices. Stressful thoughts and lack of a relaxing bedtime ritual are the main sleep disruptors. Final message. Sleep for older adults is not just the end of the day, but the beginning of restoration, alertness, and joy in life. There is no magic formula, but every small change, every cup of tea, every step into the early morning sun is a way of telling your body, I care about you. I allow myself to rest. You deserve peaceful sleep every night at any age. If you find the video interesting and useful, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell below the video so you don't miss any future content. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoy this video, you can help spread these valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and create better videos for you.